Hey everyone, I'm Amy,
I'm Julia.
and this is Women, Worth, and Weddings.
So you always get it in the beginning.
I do, it's at the end I freak out, or sometimes I freak out in the beginning too.
hmm
I have to say it over and over in my head a couple times.
Okay, so today we are talking about just some things that couples don't tend to know going into the wedding planning process. People don't know what they don't know, like I say all the time. I mean, unless you've been married multiple times, like there's some
Yeah,
things that you just don't know. And so we made like a little list of stuff for couples to think
yeah.
about.
Let's start with day of versus month of.
hmm
A lot of times, if venues don't know better, they'll say we need a minimum of a day of. And so no, I take that back, rewind. They'll say, Yeah, no. They'll say I need a month of.
hmm
And planners will be like, yeah, I do a month of, but it's actually day of. So let's talk
hmm
about the difference between month of and day of.
So our month of, we typically get in touch before the month, like honestly. And then we collect every contract. We make sure every contract looks right, make sure we don't have any questions based off of your contracts. We meet with you in person at your venue. We do your timeline, your layout. We check your rentals and make sure all your rentals are correct based off of your head count and your all your vendor needs. And then we pull off your rehearsal and your day of.
Yeah,
A day of does
none
none of
of that.
that. They show up and they're like, "Where's the timeline? Where's your layout? All right, let me see if I can pull this off."
Yeah. And so I just made bullets today about our month of and to send someone. And so our process is you get a welcome email, you get your linear timeline, which consists of a 12-month checklist. So it puts you on track. You get access to our um, DIY course, like wedding planning blueprint. You get access to that, which basically we teach you and show you how to plan your wedding throughout your planning process. You do a initial call with Kathleen, and so she will introduce you to any vendors as through the conversation. And then 8 weeks prior, that's when we step in. Like Julia said, we collect contracts, we look at your rentals, and we do all the things. So we do a lot. We're not normal,
Mm-mm.
but we do a lot for you in month of. And with day of, they don't. They don't. You're not going to have a relationship with your planner.
They're not going to know your vendors and know what's being brought day of, which is like, I don't understand how they can pull that off because the amount of fires that we put up before the wedding happens because we see, oh, you have this amount of chairs, but your head count's more than that.
Yeah.
Or your caterer actually needs you to rent some tables and linens for them, but they can't control any of that for just day of. They just show up and they deal with all these issues.
Yeah.
But there's some stuff that can't be dealt with day of.
So just be really careful when you're hiring a coordinator or a planner to make sure that they're very transparent on what they're giving you
Mhm.
and make sure that there's no fluff,
Mhm.
that they're actually doing what they say they're going to do.
Yeah.
So that's super important. What's
Yeah.
another thing?
About day of.
No, like another
Okay.
another bullet.
Um, I think it is so important when you get engaged before you even start looking at venues, figure out what your all-in budget is and who's giving money for that, like who's providing the money for that, and then go ahead and break down what your budget is for each vendor. Because what we see is they go in and they book their venue and they're like, "Oh, my budget's 30K. Like I can totally afford this 8,000, $9,000 venue." But they spend all their money on the venue and caterer and they have no money left.
Yeah.
And so don't figure out your budget and like who's allotted this amount after you book a vendor. Like figure it out before you book anyone
Yeah.
and only look at venues that fit in that budget.
Yeah. So if you have X amount, you need to make sure that does that venue require you to use their catering? Okay,
Mhm.
so what does that caterer look like? I mean, I've seen packages after venue and catering, it's over
Yeah.
$25,000.
Yeah. I've seen where the venue alone is almost 20K and they're not providing anything besides the spot.
Yeah,
It's just like, okay, your budget's 45, you spent 20 of that on just the venue,
right.
you know.
So you have to like Julia said, do your budget to the best of your ability. And there's budget trackers online. Look up wedding budget tracking, whatever. There's
Averages in the area, and that'll kind of help you if you don't have a planner. But like, it's so important because we all the time deal with people that are venue broke.
yeah,
They got an amazing venue, but then they're trying to find the cheapest DJ, the cheapest. They're ordering linens from Amazon. They're
yeah,
trying to cut all the corners towards the end.
yeah,
And
because
when
there's
you
nothing
spend so
left.
much money on the venue and the food, I mean, like, it's just day of what really sets the tone is so many other factors.
Yeah, there's a lot of factors that come into play. So
Yeah.
definitely set your budget.
Yeah, that's so huge. And then FOMO, I mean, I would have FOMO about every single vendor because then
Yeah,
when you're, a certain age, you're constantly seeing weddings online, you're constantly going to weddings as a guest, leading up to your wedding date, and it's all constant FOMO. Did I get the right wedding dress? Did I book the right venue? Did I choose the right color palette? Just have to like stick with your vision,
yeah,
and people are constantly going to give you their input. Stick to your vision and see it to the end,
yeah,
and stay off Pinterest
yeah.
as much as you can when you already started booking stuff.
Yeah, especially when you are doing like design, when it gets to design. I mean, because it's a big deal to keep
FOMO with
changing.
design is
A nightmare.
annoying because I spend hours and hours designing and getting your rentals, and for you to choose a whole different theme.
Yeah.
Like, I know I was black and white, dark and moody, but now I'm thinking of fall, very fall wedding, and I'm like, nothing's the same.
Yeah.
So that's why we've added that to our contract
Yes.
that, it costs money to have us redesign, just stuff like that. Cause it's because they see other stuff. They see other pictures and they're like, oh, I love that too. Maybe I should be boho and not modern,
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Yeah.
So just choose a vision and see it to the end.
Yeah.
Stick with it. Cause I mean, it's hard. I mean, I would feel the same way. I'm like, wait, I feel that way about my house, like designing my house, decorating my house. I'm like, I want to be like this Victorian kind of vibe. Then I'm like cottagecore, and then I'm like modern, neutral. I want to be a little bit of
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
So I completely get it. Um, Reading contracts, especially like we've said this so many times, if you don't have a planner or you just have a month of or a day of, it's so important to read your contracts. I'm guilty of just like scrolling to the end of stuff, signing it, and being done in other aspects of my life. But it's so important to read the contracts of your vendors.
Yeah, and I know that you guys don't read your contracts because there's certain things that I put in our contract, and then I get a text message after you sign the contract, and then you ask me a question. If you would have read the contract,
Mhm.
it's bolded in there.
Mhm.
So I see you. I know what you're doing.
Mhm.
So it's
Read your
really
contracts.
read your contract.
So important because you also see stupid stuff like bizarre, and you have to like think things through. Like, okay, this is in their contract. How would that like
Affect me.
affect me?
Yeah.
You know? Yeah, that's so important. Sorry, I'm trying not to cough.
Mhm.
Okay. Um, Having honest conversations with your bridal party, the people that you want to invite to be part of your bridal party. Um, Setting expectations is huge because people will feel guilty and weird about, telling them, okay, you have to pay for your own hair and makeup. You have to pay for your own dress. Like, unfortunately, that's not in every couple's budget to cover all those
Right.
things. And so just being transparent from the get go, like, hey, I would love for you to be my whatever. And then just having that conversation, like, you'll probably have to like put out like $400 in this process,
More than that. I mean,
Yeah,
yeah, for
honestly.
sure. But yes, absolutely saying, okay,
If we're
and
gonna travel, if,
yeah, if
hair
you're
and
gonna
makeup.
be my wedding planner, these are my wedding in my wedding as one
Mhm.
of my bridesmaids, this is my expectations.
Yeah, and I understand. I've seen crazy stuff online recently of like, I was a bridesmaid and she wanted us all to spend $2,000 going to France for her bachelorette and like all this stuff. I mean, there's some crazy stuff where I would personally be like, I'm not spending that money, but it's like setting
Yeah,
expectations.
setting
Like,
expectations
this is what you're getting
and
into.
not getting your feelings hurt if they say they can't do it
Yeah, because some
because
people can't afford that,
right.
you know? I mean,
Yeah.
It's a big investment, honestly. Not just for you, but for like the people that want to be there for you.
Right.
Um, and we talked about this in our last episode as well, but couples don't realize that your caterer and your bar needs rentals from you. But a lot of couples don't think about who provides cups and
Yes.
who provides
Cocktail napkins.
cocktail napkins and all like the small stuff. They just assume it's going to be their day of. And so if you don't have a planner, I can't, that assuming is going to lead to disappointment.
100%. I mean, I have been to a wedding where there were no cups and the bar was like, well, I brought extra.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
And then plates for appetizers and plates for dessert and forks for cake. This is all stuff that I very rarely have seen a couple already have that all together. Usually, if I'm month of, I'll come in and be like, hey, like, so, like, you do have to like have this for that and that for that. And then they end up buying it. But
mhm.
I've never, like, it's very rare for me to come in towards the end and they have everything squared away.
Yeah.
They just assume everyone is going to,
Do
yeah.
whatever.
And then they don't read the contract instead
Yeah.
of assuming and not reading the contract.
It's a bad mix.
It's a bad mix. Transportation is expensive.
Yes.
If you want all your guests to have a ride to and from your wedding, it's going to be $4,000 plus.
Yeah.
Unless you have a small head count.
Yeah.
I'm talking like 150 up because, it ranges from a 55-person charter bus is like the biggest you can get typically. And that you need multiple of those.
And make sure that your venue allows a charter bus because not every venue will allow a charter bus on
They
site.
just can't fit and like maneuver properly.
Yeah. So is it going to be shuttle buses? Is it going to be like what? Like
The
what
back
are
and
you?
forth. It's expensive.
It's
It is.
expensive.
And I've never had a couple unless their budget was really big. Just been like, okay, sounds good. It's always like, is there
Jeez.
cheaper options?
Yeah.
Can they go back and forth?
Yeah.
And then when there is, I will say, people don't realize if you have one bus going back and forth, that means some people are going to show up super early to the venue,
Mm-hmm.
and some people are. No one wants to take that first bus that leaves at the beginning of the night. The end of the night's 10, and the first bus has to be at 9 in order for that bus to get back at 9:30, and there's like a 30-minute like at least gap, and so no one wants to take that first bus. And everyone wants to take the last bus. But guess what? 150 people won't fit on a 55 passenger bus at 10 o'clock.
Yep.
And
So
so
my
it's just
suggestion on that is to assign people to their bus.
Mhm.
So who I'm not even kidding.
Yeah.
Travis, why you laugh?
I
Oh
like that
my,
idea too.
you're on bus number
Setting
one.
expectations for your guests. On the
Yeah.
website. Yeah.
Because yeah, exactly. I'm like, look,
The party's over for you.
party's
Good
over
night.
for you.
Good night.
Yeah. I said good night. Go.
Yeah. Also, a lot of our couples don't realize that planners have the timeline and the way they do things. Typically, we don't want you to book all your vendors immediately when you are 2 years out from your wedding. And some couples just get so stressed out and they want to book everything in the beginning, but you book the people that book up the fastest, and then we have a flow.
Mm-hmm.
And couples don't read any of our stuff, and they just want to
They do.
fast track
They
everything.
front load everything, and then what happens is you have a year or 2 years, and then there's nothing for us to do with you.
Yeah.
And then you feel like we're not doing our job.
Yeah.
But I'm like, you literally did. We did
You
everything.
made us do everything
up
a
front.
month after you hired us.
Yeah.
So all we can do now is send the checklist, which you've already checked everything off.
Yeah.
And so just understanding the flow, like we are the experts. We know how it goes. We won't let you fail or forget anything.
Yeah.
So there's that. And then your timeline and your layout needs to be sent at least 2 weeks before your wedding to all your vendors, and there's no changes. No changes. Because what happens is the day before or whatever, if you're constantly making us resend that timeline layout, everyone's going to have the wrong stuff.
Yeah. They're going to have the wrong layout or the wrong timeline. And they're like, well, I'll give you an example. I had a wedding where me, the DJ, and the photographer all had different timelines.
And that's because we sent it all out. Hey, we're sending it out to all your vendors. This is it. We're done. And then a couple days later, hey, can we actually change this? And
We
then,
actually are going to do a first look now.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then everyone just has the wrong stuff.
Yeah.
Like, no one's ever going to have the right thing. So just understanding, like, 2 weeks before at least, no changes.
Yeah.
We're done.
We're done.
Closed. Vendors don't respond immediately typically. And I know this is your only wedding and you want everyone to respond fast, but typically people respond within 48 hours, sometimes longer. Sometimes you do have to reach out again, but it's normal.
Yeah.
It is normal. Just
We have
because you
72
didn't,
hours in our contract.
yeah,
We have 72
and just
hours.
because they didn't answer within 24 hours doesn't mean they're horrible people and you should look elsewhere.
Yeah.
You should maybe do more than just that one email.
Yeah.
And it's normal, especially the time of year, fall and July, August. July, August, most vendors are on vacation. They're like, this is my only chance. I'm out of office. Like, that's that. And then fall, because we're all so busy, it's really hard to book vendors and schedule tastings and do all that stuff in fall. And it's not necessarily them being a bad vendor. It just,
Yeah.
we are,
Hard.
it's hard. And so just don't expect an immediate response.
Yeah.
Like, even if you text them, you're probably not going to hear back within the same range of if you emailed them.
Yeah.
At least that's how I am.
Yeah.
I try
you
not
are.
to answer everyone. I don't try not to answer everyone immediately. If I can, I will. But just because you texted me instead of you emailing me, I mean, it's the same. I'm going to get back to you when I can.
Yeah. We have a lot going on,
Mhm.
and you are a priority of ours. So know
Mhm.
that when you email or text us, we are on
Yeah,
it.
it's
We fill it up.
flagged and it's on my list, but it's not always going to be a response immediately.
Yeah, because a lot of times we're at another person's wedding, so we want to give them the respect and give them our full
Yeah.
attention.
And
So
our weeks are planned at least a week ahead.
yeah.
And so we have all of our meetings, we have all the stuff we got to deal with. So if you text me randomly, during the week, you might not be able to like schedule a call with me that week.
Yeah, we may
So,
have to.
you
I
know,
mean, we'll get back to you and
we
we'll
will.
schedule a call, but it may not be on your timeline.
Yeah. And just understanding like I know it's your only wedding, but we have a lot
Yeah.
of couples. Yeah. So that's the same for every vendor. Just understanding that we all have we're juggling. We're juggling a lot.
Yeah,
So,
for sure.
anything else that you can think of?
No, I think that's
Yeah.
good.
Just expectations. Couples don't know what they don't know. And then just looking up, like, there's so much stuff you can learn online. I think it's really important to have a planner.
Yeah.
So they'll help you understand everything because then they can be like, yes, that's normal.
Yeah, I think 99% of what I do on a daily basis is validate my couples, like what they're thinking.
Mhm.
I'm like, yeah, that's right. Or they're like, okay, good. I just needed you to tell me
Mm-hmm.
that I'm thinking the right thing. So,
Yeah.
All right.
Yep. Well, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's always fun hanging out with you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Travis, for always making us look good.
you.
All right. Well, we will see you guys next time.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.